is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Justified, Season 6, Episode 1, Fate's Right Hand. In this episode, Dewey Crow meets an almost inevitable end. It could not have gone any other way for Dewey Crow. Welcome to Unspoiled.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, lonesome. I'm fighting for my soul. God, get at you, boy. You try to go hard, fall back, I go hard. On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, lonesome.
Moment of silence.
I don't know what tap sounds like, but you know.
Close enough. Close enough.
Somewhere in there it's going. Except for him, it wouldn't be taps. It would probably be something terrible, like some Kid Rock song.
I was going to say Kid Rock, where he took Sweet Home Alabama, and then he rhymed. Right. Then he made that awful rhyme where it's just the same word again. Yeah. Yeah, we are in the last season. And Dewey, unfortunately, is not.
I feel bummed because I love how ridiculous Dewey is, but also when he came back this episode, I was finding myself not excited about it for the first time in a while, because I felt like it was him just doing the shit that he always does, which is trying to like make shit happen and not reading the room and realizing that nobody else is like there with him. Mm-hmm. So, and before that had been sort of like amusing, but it was mostly because there was so much other shit going on that he was like this levity. And here it feels like we've really turned a corner and I don't have time for this, Dewey. And that's basically where Boyd is. So it worked out pretty well.
I guess that's one way to look at it. Sure. Yeah. I said Dewey, he's designed to break your heart a little bit, I think. And he gets tiring, which is why they got rid of him halfway through season 3. That's why he stayed away for a season and a half. So I guess you're right. And I kind of saw it coming by the end of the episode, that it couldn't possibly, there's no way that he's still a player in the game at this point.
Right.
But it's still very sad, especially that last scene, which we'll get to, I know. But in that moment, it breaks my heart.
Yeah. I feel like with him, it's sort of like Fredo. Like, just, what am I supposed to do with you?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But we will get there. So what'd you think? First episode, final season.
This felt weird.
Okay.
Like, it didn't feel like the show to me in a lot of ways. I don't know if it was... There was a couple moments where the camera work was just a little bit different than it's been. Mm-hmm. And I know that you tend to have, like, info on the show, so maybe whoever directed this episode, or, I don't know, maybe it was somebody different than that doesn't have a lot of these episodes under their belt.
Actually, no. This was directed by Michael Dinner, he did the pilot episode of the show. He did a bunch of season premieres. This is, he's like their heavy hitter. And this is actually his last episode of the show also. But,
it just felt so... I felt almost like I was approaching all of these characters as if I didn't know them. And I don't really know how better to say it than that. I found it really hard to be engaged during this episode. I was not into it. And I'm not really sure why. Like, it's not like the stories weren't interesting. Maybe there was just too much going on, like, for me to quite... I don't know. But yeah, this was not my favorite.
Okay, interesting. I really like this episode. But I totally understand where you're coming from with it. Because I think this is the first time... Well, really, it's the first time all series where Boyd and Raylan they're directly in opposition to each other. Mm-hmm. For most of the show, Boyd has sort of been... He's obviously been the the co-lead of the show or the primary antagonist of the show, but he's very rarely the focus of everyone on the show.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So I think this is seriously, this is them taking him seriously, and this is all about we are here to get Boyd Crowder, and so let's look at I think some of the levity is missing that has been in a lot of the other shows. As much as the show could be funny, this isn't interested in being funny.
Yeah, maybe that was part of it, is that it just felt so serious. And, like, not just serious in a, like, shit's intense kind of way, but serious in a, like, fucking bummer kind of way. Like, everybody just seems to be reaching this point in their lives where they're kind of, like, deciding what's it going to be. And I think that might be what it is. It's just this feeling of, like, everything feels more like it has bigger stakes and consequences potentially. And it's hard to watch at times when you know what we know as an audience. So, yeah, maybe that's part of it.
Okay. That's fair. That's interesting. It's not the reaction I expected, but I can totally see it. Well, let's dive a little deeper then and see what we can figure out.
Let's do it.
So, Justified Season 6, Episode 1, Fate's Right Hand, directed by Michael Dinner, his last episode of the series, like I said. Written by Fred Golan, his 9th of 10 episodes. Chris Provenzano, 8th of 11 episodes, so both names we know. And this was, Michael Dinner has his only writing credit for the series on this episode as well.
Okay.
So he was
Maybe
heavy.
that's what it is?
It could be.
If it's his only writing credit?
It could be. He was heavily involved in this episode, apparently. And
maybe that's what I don't know. There's just something that feels very, like, different about it. So maybe that's part of what I'm sensing. I don't know. But continue. Sorry.
That's all right. So we start out with Winona. And she is talking to baby Willa. And wondering, watching her be a baby in a crib. And wondering what in the world is worth missing this for. Because
I just cannot deal with the fact that she looks like she just stepped out of a fucking magazine and she was trying to act like, oh, mama can finally take a nap. Guys, what are you doing making her look like this when she's a fucking new mother living alone?
Yeah, she's pretty done up, right down to she's got earrings and, like, her eyebrows are done.
Come on.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But anyway.
So we get a brief shot of Winona and wondering what is he possibly doing that's more important than this. And it turns out it is walking the mean streets of Mexico, I guess. I don't know where we are exactly in Mexico, but he is over the border and he is in a bar where the Federales from the middle of season 5 are drinking.
Yeah, this was really unexpected.
Right?
I kind of would have liked to see more of this because I don't know where he found out about any of this from.
Okay.
Okay. I would, because it feels like, they go from, oh, we're going to go after Boyd to then him, like, zeroing in on Boyd's biggest misstep, except I have no idea how he got to this place. Like, all of the dudes who came to take Boyd down from the cartel got killed before they could be questioned. And everybody who was involved with Boyd on that run is dead. No, they're dead. They're all dead. So where did they find out about this?
I think it's not that if you listen to the way he questions the lead cop, his name is Aguilar, what he says is that Aguilar is the guy who turned in the truck that he says he found in the middle of the desert that had Johnny Crowder's body in it. And because all of those got sent back to Kentucky, or that information at least got sent back to Kentucky, all he does is, I want to know about what happened to that truck. And anybody else who might have also been there that managed to walk away that night.
Okay. I forgot that they just leave him there. What a silly thing to do. But what were they going to do, I guess?
Yeah, if you would ask, you're just like, so what happens to the bodies now? What happens to the cops when they when they open up their truck and it's full of dead guys? And the answer is nothing for a little while.
Yeah.
And then it comes back around.
Whoops.
Yeah, and
My bad.
and Aguilar is not interested in talking. Raylan tries to be as clear as he can that he's not trying to mess with anything here, but he needs to know.
Yeah.
And Aguilar tells him to kick rocks. So
Aguilar is like shockingly brazen here. Like, he really just doesn't know who he's dealing with. And
Yeah.
it is sort of amazing, like, because he's such an asshole, to be like, I can't wait to see you inevitably get yours in about 2 minutes. Sure enough. Because,
Yeah.
God, he's such a dick.
even if you don't know what it's going to be, you know that he is, he's in for it. And
Yep.
I imagine I chalk it up to he's in his town, in his bar with his buddies.
Mm-hmm.
And who the hell are you to come down and tell me my business or ask me about my business?
It's just like, I guess I always think that if you just act like that when it's somebody who's just trying to get some information from your neighboring country, that's going to come back and bite you in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess there's not, like, I don't know anything about chain of command or how this goes down here, like how people are held accountable for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch TV and movies, they make it seem like the cops in these little towns are like their own little private warlords.
Right.
But I don't really know how realistic that is.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, he is not interested in helping, and he is not polite about it. And so Raylan's plan B is to ram the guy with his car after they leave the bar and kidnap him.
This killed me, like, especially after, I think it was just the last episode where I was talking about, like, episodes of shows or movies that have a sudden T-boning of a car, and I just, like, how startling it can be, and then they did it again, and I was like, Christ sakes!
Yeah, it's pretty savage. And then montage music kicks up, which is something that this show doesn't do very often.
Mm-hmm.
And we see Raylan's car rolls to a stop over to on the American side of the border.
With a cloud of dust that's about 6 times the size of his own car.
Yeah.
It is crazy how that goes, but yeah.
Yeah, deserts, man. I imagine that's what they look like.
I've been to some, but I don't remember that. But, places have different types of... Because the ones that I've gone to have been a lot of sand.
Okay.
And this looks like dirt. So I feel like that's probably different. But yeah, when he gets out of the car to like walk around to the trunk here, I was looking at it like, oh my God, I would have sat in that car and let that dust settle for like 10 minutes before I got out. Like, that is a disaster.
Oh, and on the way to the car pulling over, we get another armadillo. And it also lives.
Another one.
It also
lives.
Thank
God.
Probably the same one. That's my guess. But yeah, so
he's a recurring star.
Yeah, exactly, a special guest star.
Yes.
But yeah, so we see Raylan pull up in his car, and we don't even we don't spend too long with him really. We just get the impression that there he is in the trunk and he's in trouble. And we don't really need to know much more than that, really. We go to Boyd Crowder, and he's waking up on the couch in the back room of his bar. And we see he has no missed calls. And I'll be honest,
it's so sad.
We watch his morning routine. Boyd is way more like put together than I ever would have given him credit for. He seems like a skinny little string bean.
Yeah, he is.
And yeah.
I mean, he I don't know, there's something about this that doesn't feel like it is it has always been his routine.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's just me sort of like putting that on him, but maybe that this is like his before bank ritual more specifically.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, that's fair.
But,
I mean, I attributed it to he's on the outs with Ava. So
that too, yeah.
That was my guess, is this is his living situation at the moment, because he doesn't know where he stands with her.
That's fair.
And I like, as he's putting his he's putting himself together for the day. He uses the picture of the bootleggers as a mirror, which I just think is a fun little bit of symbolism. Plus, it sets up the end of the episode.
Yeah. The whole thing is very foreshadowy.
Yes. Yeah, and he picks up the briefcase that looks like it's got like magnets on it or something. It looks really heavy. Once he's ready, though, we see him go to work. And we see him walk into a bank to set up a safe deposit box. And
this woman that waits on him, I mean, goddamn. I was just like, girl, all right. She looked good.
Yeah.
I hope I look that good when I'm her age. But yeah, he's like, I forget how he has tattoos on his knuckles because he passes back the clipboard and it says skin, which I imagine the other one says head. I don't remember if we've seen it.
I think you're right.
It's just like when I even forget about his the swastika on his arm because he has suits on most of the time. Like we don't really see it that much anymore. And so there's like this moment where gives him a look like she's a little afraid of him. Yeah. And when I first watched, I missed him sliding the clipboard back over to her. So I couldn't understand, like, why is she looking at him like that? And then when I rewatched it, I saw his tattoos and I was like, oh, yeah, she's getting a vibe off this guy. She knows something's wrong. Right. Which is definitely something that I feel like is a hard, like, if you work at a bank and somebody apparently has everything in order, but you just have a gut feeling something isn't right, like, that's a tough call to make. What do you do, without insulting the person when potentially nothing's wrong? Right. But she definitely has some alarm bells going on.
Most definitely. It's one of those scenes, it kind of reminds me of the second book in the Dark Tower, the flight attendants on the plane, who...
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Before they actually see anything, but she sees Eddie Dean and she goes, there's just something wrong about this. And, and they say, and all you can do is just mention it to somebody else, which is probably... I'd like to think that's what she did right after her shift, or after he left. She'd say, like, do you know that guy? Because he's a little weird. And given that they're in, like, this, he didn't go out of state for this. This is local as far as we know. Everybody knows who Boyd Crowder is, so him coming to hang out at a bank should be setting off alarm bells. But we don't really go there, I guess, so...
Yeah, I was actually kind of thinking that myself, that it seemed like it was local, and why would they be like... I mean, banks basically have the right to refuse service to anybody for any reason.
Okay.
Like, it's kind of... I was actually just talking about this with Rashawn, because she... is working somewhere new, and there was a customer who was clearly getting taken advantage of by her brother. And her brother finally, like, after they were letting him make withdrawals because she had approved it, but he got to the point where he was making so many withdrawals that they kind of were like, lady, this isn't, his name isn't on this account. Like, he needs, if you want to do this, he's going to need his own account. And finally she was like, oh, okay, I'm going to put $500,000 of my money into an account just for him. And, Rashawn was like saying it's not something that you have to do as a bank. If you feel like there's something going on, you can say, no, I'm sorry, we won't accept him as a customer. But this is a small bank that hasn't got, it's like got like 2 branches, and they don't want to piss off customers that they've had for a long time, especially customers with that kind of money in the bank in the first place. So they did it. But, somebody like Boyd, who has the history that he does, he's been arrested God knows how many times. He's gone to prison more than once at this point, right? Like, he's been in once, but when we, like, first start the series, he has just gotten out. And then he goes back and gets out again. And also has a history of bank rob. Like, this is the prime target for, nah, he's not banking with us. Yeah. This is exactly why banks are given the discretion to say no like that. So I found it really strange, and the only thing I can think is that people don't know his face, they just know his reputation, and maybe he used a fake ID or something. But I didn't actually see when he signs for stuff if he's using his own name or what.
Yeah, I don't know. They even showed his signature, and I did not take notice of it.
And I mean, there comes a point where even if you are using a fake name, you're like walking in there with no mask on or anything, and there's security cameras everywhere. It's going to be 10 seconds before they figure out who you are once it's clear that there's been a robbery. Right. It was just sort of...
Although knowing who you are and being able to prove who you are is... not knowing who you are and being able to prove that you were responsible for anything are two very different things. I mean, any number of cop shows have shown us that. She does call him Mr. Crowder repeatedly, by the way, so she knows who he is.
Oh, right. Yeah. So, yeah, this was just kind of a weird thing to me. I mean, it's fine for the sake of the show, I get it. But I definitely was like, just as a viewer, kind of like, oh, my God, he would not be my customer after what he's done. But sure,
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. I definitely bumped on it a little bit. But it works for whatever reason, and he gets to be alone with the safety deposit box, and then his accomplice comes in. We do find out that he's got new members of his gang this season, Earl and the Pig. I believe that was the Pig. And, he distracts the bank teller, so he flicks open his briefcase, and he's got all sorts of... He's got a spray bottle of stuff, and he's got gloves and a little canister or something, and he's preparing for something. And then when he leaves, we see that he's being very closely surveilled by Tim in a car across the street. So, however slick he thinks he's being,
thank you, Tim.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if he knows about it or not, but this is not going unnoticed. So, and maybe that's part of it as well. Maybe that they said if Boyd comes in, if they see him hanging around banks, they say, hey, if this guy comes in, just let him do his thing. Don't worry about it.
Maybe. If that's it, I would really appreciate that detail.
But yeah, so we don't know for sure. But that takes us to our opening credits. When we come back, we find Ava alone in her house. And when she wakes up to Boyd outside the house with power tools, fixing up her front porch because he went and dismissed the guy that Ava hired.
Which that's mighty presumptuous there, Boyd. But all right.
Yeah. And Ava kind of gives him a look. She doesn't turn him away, but she's not really interested in talking to him at all either. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of an awkward scene.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get a little personal for a second here. The way that Ava is behaving here really reminded me of how it was with me and Brendan toward the end of our relationship. Because, full disclosure, I started talking to Owen before Brendan and I were split. And we agreed that we were getting a divorce before we actually, things imploded. But I don't think he realized the extent to which I had already started to move on mentally. And the way that she's kind of she's trying to act like everything is cool, but everything that he says, it's clear that she's half hearing it. There's so much going on inside of her head that her reaction to everything he says feels weirdly delayed. Like she's filtering it through, wait, what's a normal way to act here?
Okay.
Kind of, I feel like this actress is doing an awesome job of showing the interactions with somebody when you care about them and you don't want to hurt them, but you also are like, I am doing something fucked up and I cannot let it show because everything is riding on this. Also, it's part of me desperately wants him to find out because then it can be over and then it'll be out. So there's this conflicting, when you're somebody who isn't used to lying to your partner, and I hate being in that, like, when I was with Brendan, I never lied to him. And towards the end, I was doing nothing but lying, like, all the time. And it felt horrific. Like, it was just so unnatural, and it, like, clanged in my head when I would say things. So part of me wanted him to figure out what was going on. Not because I, like, was excited to face the consequences, but just because it could be done and over with. But I didn't have the courage to actually end it myself. Like, I was just being sloppy enough that he could figure it out. Kind of on purpose, you know?
Okay.
And I sort of feel like Ava's there a little bit. Like, she really, really wants to stay out of prison, but also doing this is killing her, and she wants Boyd to know. But she doesn't know how to, like, get him to know and also get him to play his role convincingly so that the cops don't figure it out and throw her back in jail. And also, how can she tell him that she's only out of prison because she agreed to snitch on him and have that relationship ever go back to how it had been, if she even wants that. I don't know if that's even part of her goal. But I just like the way that she plays all of this, and like him trying to crack a joke and her not getting that it's supposed to be a joke because she's just so distracted and like unsure what he's saying and what she should say back. Like, it just feels like she's struggling to act like a human being.
Yeah.
And I totally got it. Like, I don't know. I don't know what this actress has, like, gone through in her life, but she fucking was nailing this. I really appreciated that she's, like, getting up and smoking immediately, but then he's like, you want a beer? And she's like, what? I just woke up. But then she goes in the house and she has some fucking vodka.
Right.
You know, like, she's acting on the surface like, I don't approve of your shenanigans, and then going off and clearly self-medicating in, like, every possible way. So, yeah, I think this is really fascinating, and I'm enjoying the way that they're writing her and the way that she's acting it all out. This is just really, it's hard, it's painful, you know, because I rooted for this couple, and I'm not somebody who does that. I don't give a shit about online TV relationships, but felt like their chemistry was so natural. And to see it go down like this, it's so ugly, and it feels so far out of both of their hands. Like, it's a circumstantial thing. You know, there are times where it feels like a real personality problem, and you're like, I love you, but we just really don't work together. And that can be hard. But this feels like, I love you, and we do work together, but everything has seemed to conspire against us, and now there's things between us we can never get rid of. And that's just it feels so unfair, you know? Yeah,
and I love that you took it there, because my reaction was, you know, I don't have any personal experience with that stuff, but we are friends with a couple that went through a divorce, but immediately decided they were going to remain friends. And so they would hang out constantly, including her with her new boyfriend. And it was, if that works between all parties, then awesome. But this really, really, really didn't work. But they would maintain that facade for... They maintained it for far too long. And their conversations, you know, her ex would sit there and talk with her new boyfriend, and the conversations felt a lot like this. And the conversations, the three of them were just really... They felt a lot like this. Again, like, one person here is trying really hard to pretend like everything is fine, and it's not fine. It's really obviously not fine. I think in this scenario, Boyd just feels like so much has gone past between them that maybe he can see things aren't fine, but he doesn't know why, or he's misreading why.
Right. Yeah, I feel like it's it really in some ways, like, the way the things went with Brendan being like, we aren't going to be friends. This is just not happening. We don't talk anymore. It's done. It hurt horrifically. Like, it was like he died. But at the same time, it was so crystal clear that it was sort of the best possible choice, I think. So to hear about a couple where they tried to, like, keep it going, like, oh yeah, we're just, we're being cool, everything. If Brendan and I had tried to do that, I can't imagine how much worse it would be, like dragging it out like that.
It was pretty painful.
God, no.
I've never even pretended that with my exes because, it just seems futile, and maybe that's just me not being optimistic enough, but yeah, no thank you.
It's hard. Like, I understand the impulse because Brendan meant so much to me. Like, he was my best friend, and I did not want to lose that. But if it would have just, I feel like it's just sort of this inevitability that, like, either you admit that there's no way for you guys to be friends right off the bat, or you draw it out until there is so much festering resentment that you can't be friends anyway. Like, there's just, it kind of both leads to the same thing. And one of them, you can fool yourself for a while, but let's be honest, most people are not friends with their exes. Like, and it's not like I'm enemies with almost any of them. Brendan's really the only ex that I would be like, oh shit, I don't want to run into him. Others I'd be like, yeah, fine,
well, I think
whatever.
Some people also, and we're way off from the habits of the episode, but I think some people also have a real problem seeing the difference between staying friends with someone and still wishing somebody well because they were an important part of your life. That is totally natural. Someone, especially someone who was your best friend, someone with whom you did experience a lot and share a lot. Yeah, you want them to be happy, and when you see that you're happy, when you see that they're happy, you can be happy for them. It doesn't mean you have to be friends and hang out.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Boyd and Ava are on really rocky ground at this point, and like you said, Ava's self-medicating all over the place. She openly disdains the beer, but then fills her coffee cup with vodka. And along the way, we see her check her cell phone, and she's got like 5 or 6 messages from about her bills, saying, "Pay your bills now."
It's just like, oh my god, this was so what was going on. Like, I was getting up, and I would sneak like a swig of gin from the fridge, like before I'd eaten for the day, like, because you just have this anxiety in your gut that you need to settle, and it's like. It does help. There's a reason people become alcoholics, because it works. But it definitely was the kind of thing that even while I was doing it, I'm like, this can't go on. Like, so Ava, girl, you need to figure some shit out, because this is not good. It's not worth being out of prison if you wind up destroying yourself in another way,
right.
Yeah.
So we go to the Marshal station, where Raylan enters Rachel's office, and it is her office right now, which is nice to say. So he tells Rachel and Vasquez that Mexico is fruitful, and he has the name of a witness who can be the centerpiece of their case, Dewey Crow. Except, it turns out Dewey's being released because the circumstances of his arrest were a little too similar to all of Raylan's previous harassment. And so all of his bullshit about the murder confession being a joke, and we hear that he told everyone he wanted to keep the heroin off the streets, which is why he was taking it from them, that's actually enough to spring him. And Raylan has to stay 1,000 feet away from him.
Which, he takes about as seriously as one would expect.
And even Vasquez, who is, again, he's one of the good guys, but he's super rules guy. He says, like, well, officially, I can't let you do anything that would violate his civil rights. And he may as well be winking the entire time he's talking to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a subtitles underneath him that are going, do what you want, do what you want, do what you want. Like, the subtext is rapidly becoming text.
So we then go back to prison, where Dewey is leaving prison, and he gets down on his knees to thank God, or whatever, only to find that Raylan is like 5 feet in front of him.
Oh my God. I felt for him. I really did.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, I'm just trying to imagine I don't have anybody in my life that I feel this way about, but basically getting out of prison, this is supposed to be like one of the better moments in your life, and to have that sullied by some shitbag that's like just made your life hell. And not to say that, he is without responsibility on this, but yeah.
Yeah. It's I don't have anyone in my life to that degree either. I do have students who are so immensely difficult, and I'm so excited to actually see them through to graduation. They get their degree, they're on their final classes, and then they say, I think I want to stay and get a second degree. And you go, no, that's a terrible idea, because you need to go to grad school. Grad school is really where it's at, which is 100% true. But then they say, well, yeah, but grad school seems really hard, so I think I just want to stay at the bachelor's level. And you go, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, guys, no. I just feel like I want to spend, a few more $1,000 on something that is usually not enough to get me a job at this point in time.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I got one of those on his third degree right now. Anyway. So yeah, Dewey goes from being super happy and excited and on top of the world to, oh my god, it's Raylan Givens again. And Raylan is there to bluff Dewey that he's being extradited to Mexico for killing Johnny. And Dewey, to his credit, hangs tough. And, he says, no. I'm going to live the rest of my life. And he hops the prison bus.
Yeah, I should have known that Raylan was not above doing this, because he just fucks with Dewey so hard all the time. Like, what is it that he deputized him? Was that like the first season? Or oh god. So, but even when he did it, I'm like, that's not a, like, there was a moment where I was like, wait, what? Like, thinking it was true. And then I'm like, oh, of course it's not. He's just fucking, yeah, okay.
Yep.
He's being Raylan.
Pretty much. And right before Dewey goes, they have the conversation where the episode gets its title from. Where Raylan tells him, you're a card in fate's right hand. Don't you see how this is going to play out? And Dewey says, what the hell does that mean? It means you need to be smart. What I need is a $6 blowjob. A smarter move I cannot imagine. And hops on his bus.
I cannot understand how a woman charges $6 for a blowjob.
I don't get it either.
Listen, ladies, you can command a higher price than this. Lord have mercy.
And I know plenty of guys who have had enough self-esteem issues or whatever that this has become a thing for them. But guys, the people who are handing out the $6 blowjobs, they're not the ones that you want to be getting the blowjobs from.
Yeah, I just like everything about it. Everything about it is a bad scene. Like, I just can't. A blowjob is like the thing that guys joke about, how after you get married, you never get one again. Like they're the fucking holy grail kind of thing.
They're pretty good.
Right? How are you going to not charge? One would think that a blowjob would cost more than sex, because that's the thing that guys have trouble getting the most anyway. If you believe 90s stand-up comics.
Wait, I saw a great thing. I don't remember if it was a webcomic or a little actual vignette or what it was, but it was a guy and a girl, and she was talking about, like, I don't do blowjobs. Like, but we're sleeping together. And she says, it doesn't matter. That is, like, it's one thing for you to, put your penis in my vagina. That's what it's there for. But I'm letting you put that thing in my head. That's the most intimate thing you can possibly do with me. And it was pretty brilliant. I wish I remember where it came from. But yeah, that idea totally rocked my world. I was like, yeah, that actually makes sense. But yeah.
Yeah, $6. Like that is less money than you would spend on like a Doritos Locos assorted box from Taco Bell.
I was thinking of like a venti thing from Starbucks.
Yeah, or that, exactly. Like, I just can't. I can't. $6. Ugh. Like, I have nothing against sex workers at all. I fucking think it should be legal, because then it would be safer. And, these women who are abused would have some recourse, because not all women are abused. They just, sometimes women just want to do sex work, because why the fuck not? But I just, $20. For fuck's sake, $20 is even too cheap. But Jesus, at least 20. Anyway.
Yeah. So,
I would be not a good pimp in Kentucky, I guess.
So Dewey returns to Audrey's, and he finds that the whole thing has been shut down and seized by the U.S. government. And he is kind of despondent over it.
I should have seen this coming, but I didn't.
Well, they talk about Raylan talks in the first season. He's like, "Oh yeah, I remember Audrey's when I was 12." You know, it's a staple of the town. Is sort of that's what we always hear about it. So the idea that it is finally shut down and abandoned is, you know, that is kind of crazy. But yeah, so Dewey's distraught until he finds his turtle dog, and he is, you know, he's sitting there. We finally see him in a diner, just really thinking deep thoughts about this. And then it turns out that he is waited on by Mina, one of his girlfriends. Except she's back to her real name, Abigail, and she's taken up with the guy that Dewey knocked out last season.
Yeah, I loved that this guy is back. Like, I don't know. I didn't, you know, I just thought he was the one-time deal, but he is really good at standing in the background and looking fucking irritated with Dewey, and it's great. Oh, also, Dewey has to take a pair of panties off the line and stick it in his pocket.
Nope.
Can't resist that.
But yeah, so he is totally flummoxed, though, that this place is closed down, and his former girlfriend is, you know, taken up with a new guy, and has gone back to her using her real name. She's got a legit job. Just up is down, black is white, cats and dogs sleeping together. And but she offers, you know, something for free, something that's on the menu and is food for free. And she tells him how she saw a sign. And then a light bulb goes off in his head. So he kisses her on the mouth and runs out the door.
Not before saying, "Can I shove one last bone in you?"
He does indeed think that.
The look that she gets on her face when he says that, like she has to keep herself from physically recoiling, is just so accurate. I loved it. You know, like, I just can't imagine the shit that she had to put up with, and now she feels like she's finally gotten away with it in here, or gotten away from it, and some guy comes in and has to, like, bring that shit all back up again. Yeah.
I had a friend in high school who, we were still in high school when he turned 18. His brother brought him to a strip club. And it's a story he told that he saw one of the strippers in the Walmart where he worked. And he called by her stripper name on the intercom. And yeah, it didn't sit right with me when I was 17. I don't even exactly know why. I don't think at the time I could pinpoint exactly why. I just thought it was so gross. And I've never forgotten it, and it's never gotten this gross.
Yeah, it's so funny when you, like, look back at how it, like, there's so, I was talking about this with, I think it was with Rashawn, but just the things that, you know, there's something not cool about it, but you don't have the context or the like historical understanding of power structures or whatever to put your finger on exactly why you're just like, no, that's not okay. And I had that a lot with, like, racism, that there were things that I would, like, sort of laugh at the joke, but there was something in me going, I don't feel like this is okay, but everybody's laughing and it was funny, right? You know, like,
yeah, but it's just that whole thing of, like, you know, let's leave that where it was. Come on, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I look back on and I'm just like, oh God, I really, like, I knew something wasn't right, but when I look back at it, it was so not okay, but I just didn't get it. I really, there's just that gut feeling that, you know, and what did she do?
No, he
did he say?
He just, he made a call like, you know, will Sprinkles come to the customer service desk, please, or whatever, and it just left it at that, and that was just the joke that he called her out in public by her stage name. And it really was. Anyway, so Dewey leaves Abigail to her normal life, which is nice.
Appreciate
right?
it. Thank you, Dewey. Bye-bye.
And then back at Ava's, Boyd is painting the front porch again. And Ava hands Boyd a cup of coffee as she walks out the door because the salon where she worked has taken her back.
Which is really sweet. But also, she is just really bad at it, as we see later. And I'm going to point this out, so we'll talk about it.
You'll have to enlighten
me. Let's finish this.
But as she's going, Boyd stops her, and he tells her that Harlan's dying. And he wants her to leave and come away with him to Brazil or Costa Rica if he can get his hands on some money. And they have this veiled conversation, sort of about the state of their relationship, more than anything else.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go anywhere, but again, just Ava is super uncomfortable with every single thing right now. And a conversation that frank doesn't help her state of mind, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, if he had the money and he was, driving up in the car and was like, come on, I got the tickets, we're taking off, we're going now. I think that she might go for it, as crazy as it is, because it looks like this is so unexpected but him telling her, I'm planning on it, which means I have to do all kinds of shit before this can happen. I really feel like that's the thing for her. And she says, I don't want to hear this, which is exactly he takes that as I'm not interested, but she means it very literally. Please do not tell me anything about this. And
it also means he's thinking about their future. Even more than I'm trying to repair our relationship, he is actively thinking about the future that they still have together. And Ava is on such an opposite side of that coin. Yeah. So we do then go to Ava at work. And she gets visited by Raylan, but before that we see her do a little bit of hairdressing. So please inform me. What's up?
Yeah, listen. First, you can tell that whoever did the other packs on that woman's head, she's doing foil highlights for anybody not watching this. When you are a hairdresser, you learn how to do the wrap for the foil highlights, and you just take the edge of the comb and put it against the foil, fold it up so it's a perfect sharp crease, and then it's there's a really quick method to make it look perfect and to be absolutely flat to make sure that the hair, and whoever did the rest of them on that woman before this scene, they did it right. But then Ava basically balls it up and then just presses it into the side of the woman's head. And it's all right. The whole reason that you use the comb to do that is so that you don't have to shove somebody's head every time that you're flattening it out. You use the comb to do that. And it's just when you can see the moment where she shoves the woman's head, and the woman sort of looks at her like, Jesus, okay. And I couldn't tell if that was meant to be what it is, or if it was the extra that decided to play it that way or what. But I was definitely watching this forgetting that Ava had used to do this and thinking, God, she's new or she's really bad at this. And then I'm like, oh no, this was her old job, and I guess she either lost some of her tricks or they just didn't teach the actress how to make herself look believable. I guess that could be too. Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Still had that coffee cup in her hand as she was leaving for the job. So, yeah, but that's funny. That's absolutely something I wouldn't have picked up on. So, interesting, interesting. But she goes outside for a smoke break, and Raylan walks up and wants to remind her of her responsibilities. And it's very heavily implied those text messages about pay your bill now, get in touch with us now, were actually from him.
Right.
And she doesn't really have much information. She mentions Boyd just bought a tow truck, and that's all she's got. Because she is too worried to do anything else. She's afraid of saying the right thing or the wrong thing or anything to Boyd, and she can't do this.
Right.
And Raylan says, well, then you're not any use to me. So...
Mm-hmm. I felt so bad for her in that moment, because when he says that, if you don't know about this, you're not of no use, I was just like, poor thing. She's just in such a shitty place.
And Raylan, really, he is there. The real reason he's there, he wants to give her the heads up that Dewey Crow is out of prison. He's almost certainly going to come looking for Boyd. And so she needs to be, you know, keep her ears open for that, essentially.
Right, yeah. Find out what they're
So this is apparently the way that this is going to work. Although it's interesting to me that how okay Raylan apparently is, which he's just hanging out in the doorway like anybody in the salon, as far as we can tell from what the structure of the building looks like. Could just like look to the right and see Ava and Raylan talking. But
yeah, I completely agree with her on her freaking out right here. But if she's not responding, then you know, what is he going to do? So she could have avoided him if she had just, I don't know, done anything, texted back at all. So while I do agree that it's not a great idea on his part, I also kind of am like, well, Ava, like, when he's doing his job, and you are aware how this works, so I can't have too much sympathy for you.
True enough. So we then go back to Boyd, and he enters his bar, and as Raylan suspected, Dewey has turned up. Boyd is super suspicious, but Dewey tries to explain about the turtle dog coming back to him, and then that means that he should come back to Boyd.
Yeah.
And he, again, doesn't really seem to have time for this. But Dewey tells Boyd he just wants back in. He just wants Boyd to trust him again.
It's so sad.
It really is. And, of course, Boyd's reaction is to have Carl throw him out the back door.
Yep. Which, I mean, like, what do you do with this kid? You know, like, yeah, again.
Yeah.
There's an inevitability to all of it.
Right. And we don't know what's going on with Boyd in this episode necessarily, but clearly he has got his eyes on the prize. Whatever this is.
Right.
He is out of patience for, you know, silly questions and silly games. So. We then go back to Raylan. He checks in with Tim at Arlo's house, where the marshals have, like, kind of set up a command post.
Right.
And Tim has all these photos of Boyd meeting Cyrus, the drug dealer from last season. So they say maybe he's getting back into drug running. But as they talk, Tim notices a guy outside in a suit in front of the house.
Right. And
it's Garrett Dillahunt from the Terminator TV show. He played a Terminator there, and from Raising Hope, he was the father.
Terminator, huh?
Yeah, the Terminator TV show. He plays a T-800 style Terminator.
Huh, okay.
And he's really good. I really like this guy.
Yeah, I recognized him vaguely, but I could not figure out what I knew him from, so okay.
Yeah, also, if you get the chance, Raising Hope, hysterical show. He and Martha Plimpton play a married couple with their loser son who gets a girl pregnant who was like an escaping serial killer, but then she immediately gets arrested and electrocuted, and so he's left to raise a baby.
Whoa, and okay.
It's really funny and really bizarre and really underrated. So, strongly recommend it. Really funny guy. This isn't him being funny, obviously, but he's a great actor. Really versatile. I like him a lot. And as usual, Justified does a great job picking good actors for small characters.
Oh shit! You know what I meant? I wanted to mention, and this is not a big deal, but I mean seriously, I'm so hungry I could eat the ass out of a low-flying duck.
Yeah.
What is this? I've never heard that ever, and I hope to never hear it again.
I've never heard it either. I can at least follow the logic in that one. There was an episode or two ago that went like, what the fuck? But, yeah, I like that. I could work that into daily conversation, I think.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Eat the ass out of a low-flying duck.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I forgot about this guy, though, like, on the guy that's outside Raylan's house. Because he doesn't feel like he matters that much by the end of this episode.
Yeah, there's so much other stuff going on. Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks a lot like, I don't know if you've ever seen the god-awful show How to Get Away with Murder.
I have not actually watched it. I know plenty of people who do. I live with one of them, and don't let her hear you say that.
It's one of those shows that I feel like started off on a good foot, like so many Shonda Rhimes projects. It starts off well, and then it goes completely off the rails, and it's just nonsense. And there's a guy in that who has the same like side part, the same really put together clothing, but like the big almost scruffy beard, like just this side is scruffy.
Okay.
That feels like really incongruous with the rest of his look. But this guy's older. And yeah, definitely with this box of money and his beard, it's clear like he's hiding from something. This guy's running. I don't know what's going on here, but it can't be good.
Yeah, he pulls out that money. Yeah, Garrett, and just, again, to backfill a little bit, Arlo's house is for sale, and there's a for sale sign out there. And so he has shown up out of nowhere without really bothering to look at the house. He wants to purchase this property on the spot with a briefcase full of cash that he just happens to have with him. And the cash in this briefcase, it looks like it was collected off of a street corner. Like, he did not get this money from an ATM. And Raylan is unimpressed. He says, "Forgive me if I ain't the run-of-the-mill tater tot whose eyes got all pinwheel at the stack of stolen money."
Tater tot. I mean, that's pretty good. I'm sorry.
And then he says that, he wouldn't sell to this guy in any case. So,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, good call. Look at the guy.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. Yeah, I'm curious about what that's going to turn into. This guy looks like what I imagine, like, if things had continued to go wrong last season, where Wynn Duffy would have been by now.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, he would have gathered up the money that he could and would have grown a huge beard and would be fucking hiding somewhere. Like, that just, yeah, I feel like he can't, I'm very curious.
Listen, it's an easy scene to forget about because he shows up, he offers money, and he leaves. And he says, if Raylan changes his mind, we don't even get this guy's name in this episode, but he will not be hard to get in touch with. And Raylan says, you have no idea. So that's all we see of that. We will have to see where it goes. If it goes anywhere, could just be a one-off. Who knows? We then go to Tim and Raylan going to pay a call on Cyrus. And they use a local addict named Crackpot to get access to the house. And as soon as... Yeah. And Cyrus immediately knows something's wrong. Because he's like, you're back here already? Like, I just gave you something. But he opens the door anyway. As soon as he sees Tim, he runs for it. And he gets stopped by a shovel to the face.
Oh my god, I was not expecting that. I was like, wait, what? Oh, I felt so bad. Like, that looked like it hurt,
Oh yeah, he drops like a stone, and Raylan just looks down and says, "Halt, U.S. Marshals." It's the most deadpan thing ever.
I know that Raylan is an asshole, but damn, he gets some good lines, and he has such good delivery. Like, I can't even.
Can't be nice. You can at least be funny,
right?
Yeah. So, back at the bar, Carl reports to Boyd that Earl has returned, but now Cyrus has gone missing. And Carl's really frustrated because he doesn't know why they're doing what they're doing. And for whatever their plans are, if Cyrus is missing, that screws everything up.
Right.
So Boyd takes a second, thinks about it, and then strides purposefully into the bar to find Dewey Crow playing pool, minding his own business, and says to him, "You want back in? I got a job that needs doing."
It didn't occur to me, actually, to wonder what the fuck happened to this guy. But I feel like that's gonna have to be a problem later, right? Like, is Cyrus the one that was smoking weed in the car that Boyd got mad at him?
No, Cyrus was he was the one who was shooting addicts with the BB gun at the start of season 5.
Oh, that fucking guy, right? Okay,
and and eventually he got one over on Dewey and on one of the other crows by trying to negotiating a drug deal. That Dewey was Dewey and Danny. That's what it was. So yeah, he's been around, but he's just sort of on the periphery of stuff.
Right.
But Dewey he's Johnny on the spot with whatever you need, Boyd. Anything. Hell yeah.
I feel
Dewey's
so
doing
bad.
this.
Dewey.
Yeah.
It's just like I just hate this is the hardest and most, heartbreaking thing with characters when you see somebody who had all this potential and it just went to waste. Like Dewey is a good-hearted dude. He's an idiot, but he has a really good heart, and if he had somebody in his life directing him in a productive way, he could have been fine. He could have been a really helpful, good human being. Yeah. Like, I definitely see him as being somebody who, if he had the money from, working hard and reached a point in his life where he was able to share, he would share. He's the kind of guy who would take care of people and be proud of that,
Yeah.
And it's just seeing this, it just feels so, and life is just like this, not everybody who has potential is lucky enough to have somebody hold them by the hand, and it's just so unfair sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about jobs for Dewey a few episodes ago and stuff that he could be doing where he'd be really happy. And I could see him being really happy. I could see him as like the groundskeeper at a daycare, or like the guy who teaches wood shop to kids at summer camp, or just something. He's never going to be an intellectual. He's never going to hold down an office job, but he's got to be good at something, and it's something that he could give to people. And he is that kind of guy where he would be happy to give it if he had something to give. Mm-hmm. And as I said, and his life just went in another direction. And when you see him here, he's got something to do. He's accepted. He is bopping along in his tow truck. He could not be happier right now. It's all, he wants to be needed. Everybody wants somebody to... People who need people are the happiest people, or whatever that song is. Does that apply to him? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't apply to him. But Dewey's happy in this moment, and I like that. So Dewey takes off in the tow truck, and Raylan and Tim are watching, and Tim sort of Raylan goes so what do? Do we follow Dewey or do we follow the rest of them? And Tim does like a coin flip in his head. And he goes, Dewey. So they take off after Dewey.
And fucking Raylan has the nerve later to talk about that, but yeah.
Yeah. But so Dewey's rocking out, having a good time, driving the tow truck, and he comes up on a roadblock and apparently decides that the laws don't apply to him anymore because he's Dewey goddamn Crow and he'll sue the government for harassment and negligence and malfeasance.
Malfeasance. Oh my god. I love that it works because this guy straight up doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And it's just I'm just going to let this crazy man pass. This is fine. He doesn't let it happen. Dewey gets his tires shot out. Oh, that's true. But, he starts to drive past, and the guy just sort of is standing there, dumbfounded, staring at him initially.
Dewey runs the roadblock because he apparently thinks this is a thing he's allowed to do now. He gets his tires shot out, drives for a surprisingly long time on bad tires, but eventually careens down. I wrote down a ditch, but this isn't a ditch. This is like a ravine.
Yeah, the ravine, that seems fair, because, it looks like where, fucking Danny Crow ran Amy off the road.
Yes, that's right. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So this turned out to be a bad idea. And Raylan and Tim have to come to his rescue. And again, just poor Dewey starts to chastise Raylan for being so close to him, and Raylan breaks his jaw on the steering wheel.
That is so rude.
Yeah. I'm sure Raylan didn't mean to break his jaw, But, yeah.
But, like, it was just unnecessary, man. And talk about short-term thinking. Because, sincerely, he already won a suit against you. And now you're going to come up and, like, I don't know that there's no witnesses to this except for Tim, which I'm not sure Tim would, say shit. I'm pretty sure that he has Raylan's back.
End of the day, he's
still,
got
like,
Raylan's
Jesus.
back. Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, the whole reason Dewey Crow is the focus of this episode is they want him to be the centerpiece of their case against Boyd.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, short-term thinking, yeah.
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 And when later Boyd asks him, why'd he break your jaw? And he's like, I don't know. But Boyd has this expression on his face like that troubles him. Like, he knows there's something about that.
Yeah.
And he's just puzzling it over. And I feel like he's going to start to sense some things.
Well, and that's the thing, and we're not there yet, but that's the thing about at the end of the day that kills me, is that Dewey didn't do anything to warrant this. He didn't turn on Boyd. He didn't really wasn't really given the opportunity to, but
no.
Yeah, he didn't do anything wrong. He was just weak, and that sucks.
Yep.
As a fellow weak person, that sucks.
Yeah, agreed.
But back to our scene. Yeah, Raylan breaks Dewey's jaw. At first, I thought he was exaggerating, but he really does seem to have some trouble speaking after this. But they yank him out of the truck. They look in the car that he's towing and find a big black duffel bag. And Dewey has never seen that before in his life, of course. And much to everyone's surprise, it's full of nothing but clothes.
Whoops.
And, yeah, they suddenly realize, and I love Dewey goes looking through it, going, where is it? Like, where?
Right?
Where?
Like, he's like, there's something.
Yeah.
There's gotta be.
Where's what? I don't know, but it's not here. But, and then suddenly Raylan and Tim realize they should go check on that bank that Tim saw Boyd at earlier. And Dewey, they cut to Dewey, he's processing and going like, what is going on here? He's slowly reaching this realization that doesn't happen until later on, but it's suddenly occurring to him that he is a patsy.
Yeah, because he's like, Boyd doesn't give a shit about you. And he's like, yeah, he does. He gives a lot of shits. And then realizing, oh, no, he totally does not. Like, that's so sad. It's just all of this is so fucking sad.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And also, like, the fact that Boyd or Raylan and Tim decided to follow Dewey instead is the thing that I kind of like want to like smack Raylan upside the head for a little bit, because really, when you stop and think about it at all, Dewey just got out of prison. He went into prison for holding up Boyd and trying to steal his dope. Yep. And basically shooting his mouth off and being an idiot.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, there's no way that Boyd gives him a job of any sort of importance as soon as he comes home. Like, it doesn't make sense to follow him instead. It just doesn't. But I think it's within Raylan's character completely 100% for him to follow Dewey instead, simply because he knows that he can bully him. And so that just seems like an easier target.
I think it is an easier target, but he also just got that bit of information from Ava that she didn't even realize was a bit of information, that Boyd just bought a tow truck.
I mean, I guess, but like still, it's just such a, like, it's just, I don't know.
No, I know.
I feel like it just, if you like look at the relationships there, this just wouldn't make a lot of sense. But
no, I agree. I agree. There's definitely an element of that. Like, Dewey's going to be the one that's more fun to track, so let's go do that.
Right. And that when we get him, we can push him around, even if we don't find anything, and get something out of him. Like, because they just enjoy pushing him around.
And again, there's legit reasons for all of it. They want to be on Dewey, so eventually they can turn him. They know about the tow truck, so they have this idea that maybe there are drugs. That seems to be the only thing that they can think of right now. So there are plenty of legit reasons for them to do everything that they did. But, yeah, I don't think that those really factored into why they chose to follow Dewey. I think it was just, Tim suggested it, and Raylan said, sure, that sounds fun. Yeah. So, we then cut to Boyd and his gang, and we get a good old-fashioned bank robbery at shotgun point.
Yeah, this is an intense one. I've never seen one that was done like this for a safe deposit box,
Yeah, they used a winch on the back of their truck to tear out the wall of safe deposit boxes. And
I mean, this is
like
serious.
you said, this is a scene that doesn't feel like an episode of Justified.
Right.
It's very purposeful. It's very sort of intense. The camera work is very there's lots of quick cuts. It definitely seems like a different TV show, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just realizing something now. We'll talk about it when we get to it, but my brain is apparently much slower than I realized.
All right.
But
yeah, so they break in. They're all, they've got their masks on. Boyd gets into the safety deposit box room, and he's got a UV light where he's looking for certain markings that were left. And, they use the winch on the truck to tear off the wall so they can get the safety deposit box they need. And after the fact, Raylan and Tim join the police and all the stuff in the aftermath, and they second-guess their decision to trail Dewey.
Do you know, is it Tim's truck that has the girly mud flaps?
I guess it must be.
That feels wrong.
That does feel wrong. That does.
That's weird.
Yeah,
okay.
And I was right on my screen when you said it, and I definitely didn't notice it until just then. But yeah, that must be Tim's truck with those mud flaps. I thought it was Dewey.
Come on, Tim.
Well, he's got layers. One of those layers are, lady mud flaps. That's really not something I should have said. So.
Oh God, I hate it. And this is when Raylan's like, "Good call, Gutterson," and I'm like, "Please punch him solidly in the face."
Yeah. So we go to commercial. We come back, and Raylan and Ava meet at the Harlan Crime Bridge. And Raylan pushes her. He pushes her pretty hard and blames her for dropping the tow truck thing to throw them off. And she says she didn't know. And this is where he just reiterates, then you are useless to me. And she gets pretty vocal about, she doesn't know how to do this. She can't lie to his face. She can't pretend she's just interested in his crime. And Raylan, he's not wrong, totally rejects this. And he reminds her of the first time they met and how she had just murdered Bowman and how he never saw this coming because he didn't suspect a thing. Because when she decided that this is what she was going to do, she was perfect. And he ain't wrong.
I mean, he's not, but, she didn't like him.
I know.
It's just not you don't just turn that shit on and off because you just make a decision. It comes from a place of completely disconnecting with the actual person you're doing it to, and that's not easy to do with somebody you actually give a shit about anymore.
It's true. It's true. But I thought that was and that again, it kind of shuts her up because you're right, but he's right too. She has it in her. She's just not there with Boyd. At least not, not right in this moment, certainly.
Right.
So back at the bar, Boyd and his crew open the safety deposit boxes they took, and it's all ledgers and deeds. And there doesn't seem to be any money there, which Carl is not pleased about.
Yeah, Carl's real pissed. Boyd has this weird look on his face, like he almost knows what's going. And so this is the thing I was saying before. I didn't think of this. If Boyd is being watched, did they tell the bank, "Hey, put some decoy fingerprints on a couple boxes because we know he's coming"? Because they seemed very bold. However, was that something that Boyd did? last time he was there and put the fingerprints on them himself because he knew what they... I don't really get what the fingerprint thing is and why the ones that he's looking for are so much bigger and brighter than on all the other boxes. And I feel like that has to be a setup. And maybe he knows that and like is realizing that there's something going on.
Boyd definitely has information everyone else doesn't.
He was like thinking that there was something that he could turn into money, that he could liquidate, that it was like information.
Hello? Yeah, there you are.
There?
Sorry. Yeah, I lost you.
Okay,
You said he was thinking what?
That maybe it was something that he thinks he can turn into information or money, like, you know, sell it for something.
He seems not pleased necessarily like Hoot and Hollering, but I think that he got what he was looking for, whatever that was.
Okay. But he just didn't share with the rest of his crew what it was that he was looking for.
That I very much got.
That seems really like a shit
It
move.
does, and this is what has gotten other people in trouble in the past, is not actually explaining anything to your people. And Boyd is, Boyd knows more than he's letting on. I think this wasn't an arbitrary thing. You know, they were looking for specific safety deposit boxes. So, yeah, I very much get the impression that he knows what he was there for, or at the very least, he's not surprised it's not just like the crown jewels.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell anybody else that,
yeah, because Carl's like, where's the money? And he just stares at him. Like, he stares at him like he wants to kill him. Like, it is a scary look that he gives him. And I'm just like, man, why are you looking at him like he doesn't have the right to ask? Because you made it sound like one thing. He has put himself on the line for you to get this shit, and you're not even being honest with him about what you're getting. Like, that's not on him. That's on you.
Agreed.
This is how you turn into a Jon Snow, guys.
That was exactly my thought. Yeah. Yep. Pretty much. Pretty much. But we leave them alone for now. We then go back to Raylan, who is visiting Art at home. And it seems like things are actually a little better between them. At least a little. Mm-hmm. And they drink bourbon and they talk shop. And Art confirms something that I think we sort of wondered about. Like, he definitely never would have greenlit Ava as a CI, and Raylan never would have been greenlit as her handler if it was up to him. But apparently Rachel was okay with that.
I mean, I think Rachel is a little bit, like, blinded by just, like, how perfect an opportunity that looked like. But,
and Raylan is, he's chafing a little bit. He says he has to be patient and do this by the book as much as he, even we've seen, obviously, he's not doing this exactly by the book, but...
Sure is.
But all he really wants to do is back Boyd into a corner, force him to draw, and then plug him face to face. And Art says, that would save us all a big headache. It would make the world a better place for a little while. You'd lose your badge and probably go to jail. And you get to see little Willa through the glass of a prison visiting room window.
Which I keep forgetting that her name is actually Willa, because I keep thinking that they're saying Willow, but with a southern accent. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right,
Willa.
Right.
But
like sarsaparilla.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Exactly. And then Art says, the other thing that could happen in a showdown is that the bullet could find you instead.
Yeah, and he's like, not likely. And Art's like, listen, you little boy.
Yeah. And he says, I know you think so. So.
I mean, that's the reason anybody does anything fucking stupid, is because they never think that they could get nailed for it themselves. Like,
that's what Art says. Do this long enough, and you realize eventually that sometimes it just doesn't go your way. But
law of averages, man, the science.
And but Raylan's being patient and by the book, so I guess we don't have to worry about that. Now we go back to Boyd for our episode climax, I guess, where Dewey barges in and he is raging that Boyd has set him up. And he feels betrayed, he's in pain from his jaw, and there is just too much going on that he does not understand.
Yeah.
And he's despondent, he's tired, he just wants to go back to the way things used to be. And he remembers the church and Crowder's commandos and how they just used to go out there and raise hell.
Yeah, it's like so wistful the way that he's talking about it. Like, the way he delivers these lines and the way that Boyd reacts to them is so well done, because Boyd, it's not like, you can tell when he's saying all this shit that this has all been running through Boyd's mind too, but that he's sick of it. Like, this is a guy who has thought this all through and has already come to terms with the fact that the fact that Dewey hasn't is just weakness now. You know, like, it just, he has seen, he understands exactly where Dewey's coming from, but he understands you just don't get to go back. And the fact that this dude is here expecting that or wishing for that it's almost like when he kills Dewey, like he's killing a part of himself.
I can see that.
You know what I mean? Like, he's just like, I have to put that to bed. That's just not happening.
So I'm curious if you think in these moments where he sits and talks, and do you think he's being honest with Dewey about how much he misses that stuff as well, or is he just playing a part here? Is he's able to confide in him in a way that you can't do with somebody is walking out of the room?
I think that he is being honest in that they were good days. That because it was simple. But I think he's doing it in the way that like it's like your friend from high school who they want to go back, and while you recognize that you had a great time, you would never choose to go back. Like, that's just not even, but this person is just in such a different place that to them that actually sounds desirable, because parts of them haven't grown the way that you have grown. So I think I think that there's a part of him that understands, but and agrees to a point, but that it's just not, you can't, like, once you've gained a certain amount of perspective, you can't look back at certain times in your life without seeing how fucked up parts of it were when you didn't get it in the moment, and it's understandable that Boyd would have a very different perspective because he's the boss now, and Dewey was never in that position, and he didn't get betrayed right and left. Like, I mean, he did, but he doesn't seem to have let it stick, apparently. And they weren't family. The family that he had was basically on his side, and he was the one who wound up bailing in the end. So yeah, it's just kind of a weird perspective to have when you're the guy that's now in charge of something that you are watching slowly die.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, so they talk, and he brings Dewey over to a photograph. The photograph we saw at the beginning of the episode is that's Boyd's granddad and his friends, and he talks about the future that they saw in Harlan, and he talks about, you can see the promise in their eyes, and Dewey leans in to try and see, and the last thing he says is he can barely see their eyes, and then there's a gunshot and he drops, and it's super sad. It's really sad. Just in case you forgot Boyd's the bad guy, this episode reminds you.
Right. And but it's also like there's a point at which I'm like, Dewey is going to get him. Like, not that Boyd isn't wrong for killing him, but I feel like Dewey was right at the point in his life where he was about to make a really bad decision in one way or another that was going to get him killed. Like, there's just no other way for this to go. And it almost feels like a mercy killing, even though that's clearly not really what it is. There just is a vibe here of just this guy.
Look at the flowers, Dewey. Look at the flowers.
He's, a little bit.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it
it's
sucks.
just-
It sucks. And that's the end of Dewey Crow. Carl rushes in and, what happened? And Boyd just buttons his jacket and says, I could no longer trust him. Tells Carl, wait 20 minutes, wrap that body in a carpet, and dispose of it. And
Why wait 20 minutes, do you think?
maybe just in case... Well, actually, I don't know. I was going to say just in case anybody shows up, but no, then you don't want to wait 20 minutes. I don't know. Maybe I'm leaving to get as far away as I can, then you go dispose of the body.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's what it is.
And then we get our very last image of the episode, where we watch Boyd watch Ava sleep in her bedroom.
What a creep.
Yeah.
Don't like it.
It's a really unsettling final image.
She's lucky that she doesn't have, like, her phone on next to her, and she doesn't get a text about paying her bills, because I think he'd start to be putting that shit together right away.
Yeah, that's that front, I think, only works for so long, because eventually when she starts making money again,
Yeah.
you gotta start asking questions, but we'll see.
Yeah, I feel like that she should take a leaf out of Boyd's book and put the number in as, like, Sarah, and then have the code be like, hey girl, we're getting drinks. You want to come? Something like that, you know? But
I want to see Raylan make those texts to Ava to try and be her, like,
oh my God, how funny would that be?
her peppy 25-year-old friend. Yeah. That's, so let me ask you this. So we get that final image of Boyd watching Ava. Right after that speech about I could no longer trust him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Boyd trusts Ava? Are we being misled in that final image, or...
I feel like
What?
it's not, like, I'm not sure about the trust thing so much as just we aren't on the same team anymore.
Okay.
You know?
So,
like...
So you think Boyd thinks that they are definitely not on the same team anymore?
Yeah, I think he's just realizing, like, I was hoping that I could get this money together and leave with you. And now I'm seeing that if I decide to do this, I'm on my own. You're not coming with me. And that's just hard. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I mean, if it's come down to I can't trust you anymore, I don't know what has happened that makes him think that with her. Like, I haven't seen evidence that points to him feeling that way.
Yeah. No, you're right. That's why I was... Because it's a very chilling, like, final image.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't seen anything actually in the episode that makes us assume that he would distrust her.
Yeah, I think I almost put it more together with the part of, you know, Dewey wanting to go back and have it be how it was.
Okay.
You know,
okay,
him
sure.
watching her and just, can't we get that back?
That's, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really great connection. So that's where we are, and nothing is comfortable right now.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he's
dead.
thinking that she's looking at him like she can't trust him anymore.
Okay.
Maybe, like, because that's sort of the vibe she's given off, the way that she's, like, playing it is just like, I don't want to go down this road and do this again. And he's the one who wants to go back. And she's saying, we can't. And maybe he's finally, like, seeing it from her perspective and understanding what she means by that. Like, we can't just go back. That's not how this works.
I think that definitely makes sense. That's... Because I do think, like you said, that he empathizes with Dewey, even if they are in a different place as far as the possibility of going back occurs. But then you look at a different part of Boyd's life, and he's the Dewey of that situation. So what does that mean?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good thought.
I'm good like that. I have my own show.
Sometimes.
I don't know if you knew about it.
I imagine there must be a tiny listenership out there.
Yeah, some people. Hi, guys. So, yeah, that's it. Damn.
That's it.
But, yeah,
That's
it's like
it.
a harsh episode. Like, it was rough.
It is. It's the death of fun.
The death of fun. Indeed. Ugh. I just feel like there's just so much. This is just life, man. Like, just shit goes wrong, and you just sometimes you can't fix it. You just can't do it, and
Yeah.
that's just it. Just feels so unfair, and it is unfair. It feels unfair because it is. It's really something that I didn't understand when I was younger, and people would be like, "Life isn't fair," and always had this faith that things work out. Even if it seems shitty, things wind up working out. And I think that I didn't understand that, like, no, it's not just as simple even as saying, no, things don't always work out. It's like, we have to make things work out. Mm-hmm. And for that to happen, we have to understand ourselves and our own patterns. And we are very bad at that. That's the part we're the worst at, actually. So I always kind of felt like, well, it's just, karma. Things, pattern, whatever. But it takes a kind of introspection that most of us are not good at or want to do because it sucks.
So, and
yeah.
You talk about falling back into old patterns. What's Boyd doing?
Mm-hmm.
Back to Robin Banks, just like season 1.
Yeah.
That didn't work out so well.
Yeah, we don't see his lady that he... What's her name? What's the woman who, got him back into this, kind of?
Mary Steenburgen. The character's name was escaping me. Yeah, no, we don't see her in this episode. We don't see Duffy in this episode. That's what I mean. When at the end of that heist... Boyd knows stuff. He's been talking to people that we don't see in this episode. Mm-hmm. So there's a piece of this puzzle, probably more than one, that we don't have right now.
Well, are you good? Can I wrap up real quick?
Absolutely, wrap it.
Okay, so new patrons this week. We have David McNiff, Brock 300, Sarah Rintz, Judy ? Catherine Ross, and DeAndrea Harris. I like it because Judy didn't just leave her last name blank, which you can do. She put a question mark there, so it just says Judy.
I think you have to pronounce that as Judy.
Judy. So yeah, I want to welcome all of you guys. Thank you very much for becoming patrons. And make sure to go to unspoiledpodcast.com to, get all of your access to old legacy episodes of stuff. If you're $5 and up, you'll get access to Twin Peaks, which I'm doing with Maggie. And if you are $10 and up, you will get access to a monthly postcard that I send out to all my listeners. I'm really excited about it because this month's is going to be a white doe on a black background, and it just says Snape was still a dick, though. And the one that said "Don't shame people, judge them silently as God intended" went out last month.
I just got it yesterday, Amanda, and I love it. It is on our refrigerator.
Yay! I'm delighted. So yeah, that's some of the rewards for being a patron, and if you're $3 and up, you get access to a cocktail hour, which will be happening the Saturday after next. And I just come and hang out live on camera and drink. Usually Owen joins me because it's usually Saturday nights. And I try and schedule those way ahead of time. And it's really fun. Like, the cocktail hours have been a lot of fun. When we just kind of shoot the shit. I answer some questions sometimes, or we just talk about what's going on in the world. So yeah, patrons, what's up? And if you're interested in becoming one, go to patreon.com/unspoiled. You can also go to unspoiledpodcast.com/Amazon if you would like to support the show when you go shopping. And it's really, really easy. You can bookmark the page so that you always go there when you're shopping on Amazon anyway. And it doesn't cost you extra money. It's just a little bit of a commission goes to me for sending you to Amazon, as if you weren't already going to be going to Amazon. But shh, we won't tell. And I want to say thanks to anybody who's been using that, because I've seen an uptick in my income from it. and it's just a huge help. And the date that I get paid from Amazon falls like about a week before I usually get paid from Patreon. Since I get paid once a month from Patreon, I am flat broke by the end of the month. So whenever I get paid by Amazon, it's like saving my ass. So anybody who's been doing that, thank you. Really, seriously, it's been a big help. And of course, you can also leave a review on iTunes, which I don't think we have any new ones. But if you do that, it helps other people find the show, which leads to potential other patrons. So, leaving reviews is a free way and probably the most effective way to like long-term help the show out. So yeah, do that. I feel like that's all. Oh, and of course, check out new sponsor, Accio Box, the monthly Harry Potter subscription box. They are our new cohort, and they are giving a 10% discount on your first 3 months of boxes for if you use code UNSPOILED. And I'm going to be getting my first box from them in the mail in a week or so, and I'm really excited about it because we don't know what's in it. Like, they don't tell you ahead of time like they do with some... I think Loot Crate tells a lot of what's going to be in it. Not everything, but they definitely will be like, oh, here's the exclusive pop that's going to be coming with this one, to like, try and motivate people to get it. And Accio Box does not tell you what's coming. So Rashawn and I are going to be unboxing that one live. And I'm excited about it because I have no idea what it's going to be. So yay.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Yay. Sir, anything else?
Nothing new. You can still find me on Twitter at Al Kingsley, and you can find me here every week.
Whoop, whoop. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We sure do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we will see you next week with a new episode.
Bye, everybody.
Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
On this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off with my son. I'm fighting for my soul. God, get at you, boy. You try to go God, fall back. I go hard on this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off with my son.
I see them long, hard times to come.
My life is ill, son. Prepared to kill, son. Paradox of pain, baby, it's real, son. Lonely traveler, ain't trying to value you, but if you're feeling tough, dog, I walk up all challenges. Ain't got no family.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.